Hi, I'm Leslie Nesmith, and I am the campaign manager for Jake Merrick, former state senator and former radio show host who is running for governor. And the reason we're here today is radical transparency.
That's right.
Typically when people run for office, they tell you what you want to hear up front, and then they do a little switcheroo once they're in office, and you say, what in the heck happened to the guy I cast my ballot for? So Jake doesn't want that to happen. He wants you to know exactly who you're voting for when you cast that ballot.
Yeah, I mean, whether you like it or not, the answers I give are going to be truthful. And then you can make the decision about who you want to vote, if you want to cast your vote for me or not. But like you said, in the end, I want you to know exactly who I am and what you're voting for or not voting for. But the goal here is just to answer some questions that we've been getting on the campaign trail that we felt deserved a little more attention. And some of them are beyond just policy issues.
Yeah.
And we want to make sure, full disclosure, absolute transparency, nothing to hide here. So let's get to it.
Let's talk. All right. Okay, so I'm gonna start with the one that I think you've probably gotten quite a bit, and that is one term in the Senate. Okay, so you lost your re-election campaign. What contributed to that loss, and what did you learn from it?
Right. Well, just to remind people that I was elected in a special election when Stephanie Bice went to D.C. She vacated her state Senate seat, and I ran for that seat in a special election and won. So I filled up the remainder of her term. So she had about a year and a half left. I came into office in April, so finished out the remainder of that session and had an interim study that summer, then prepared for my first full session that next year in 22. And after that, I'm actually right in the middle of that session, I was in re-election. And so working on re-election, and yes, I did lose that re-election. And I think several things contributed to it, so I appreciate the question. In that short time I was in office, I learned a lot of things. It doesn't take long, if you're looking, to learn how the sausage is made, learn what's behind the curtain, as they say. And a few things I learned was there are powers that be that have agendas. There are special interest groups that are interested in certain bills getting through. Now, that last year I faced the voucher bills. This was touted as the conservative solution to fixing public schools.
Yeah.
There was agreement in the conservative base in Oklahoma that public schools were broken. And so the belief was, and still continues to be, that if we allow parents to pull their kids out, allow the money to follow the child, and they go to another public school or opt for a private school or homeschool, whatever it may be, then it would put pressure on the public schools to change.
Yeah.
Okay, that logic, whether you agree with that or not, was kind of the basis of that movement, that push for the school voucher. I didn't have a problem with that necessarily, although I do have some issues with that logic. My main issue was government oversight and auditing of 10% of those who took the money. So what I said was, this is just the camel's nose under the tent. This is allowing the government to come in and inspect to make sure that there's full transparency, that people are using the money as they should for their kids' education and not buying a bass boat with it.
Yeah.
So, hey, I agree with that, proper use of public funds. But what is that doing? That's opening an unnecessary door, growing government, allowing government to come in and intrude into our lives, and I did not like that piece of it. So although I liked the idea of empowering parents, I'm all for school choice, I did not like opening this door to allow government to come into our lives. So in the end, I voted no on that, in spite of tremendous political pressure from outside groups. I was a deciding vote in that. The Senate was split. I was a holdout, so they were lobbying me hard for my yes vote because they knew I might determine the outcome, and indeed I did. I ended up voting no on this bill, and I have to say this one other thing. I witnessed something while I was on the Senate floor. I talked to others who were conservatives like myself who also had heartburn with this bill. They didn't like the government intrusion, this 10% audit, the voucher idea in general. And so I spoke with a colleague of mine on the floor, and he said, I don't like this bill either. But he said, if I vote no on this, I'm going to draw an opponent. He was a yes vote. He had already hit his green button, but he said, I don't like it. In our conversations on the Senate floor, he said, man, I think I'm going to change my vote. He sat down at his desk. He hit red. Almost instantly, he gets a text. He looks at it, his face turns pale, and he says, I just drew an opponent. That was so enlightening to me, Leslie. I knew that the powers that be were sitting in the gallery up above us, looking down to make sure everyone was walking lockstep, doing what they were told to do.
That's right.
And when someone stepped out of line, they were corrected. They were informed, your political career is over.
Yep.
So I watched in dismay as he changed his vote back to green, caving to that political pressure. And that said everything to me. That's the game that's played. It's the game all of us suspect, and it was confirmed for me on that day. So I said, I am never going to cave to political pressure. I am going to do what's right, and if it means I lose my reelection, so be it. So what happened is the same thing they threatened that colleague of mine, former colleague of mine with, that's exactly what they brought to me. I was up for reelection, and then of course, hundreds, I don't know what the actual number was, but thousands of dollars were spent by dark money groups to ensure that I was not reelected. Can you overcome that? Yes, I believe you can. But in this situation, that's what I was facing. And we had mailers that went out in the district.
And he was my senator, so I received those mailers. I got the Jake the Fake and the Jake the Rhino mailers, which was infuriating to me because it was totally disingenuous.
They had my picture next to Joe Biden.
Yeah.
They had me saying I was at lockstep with the teachers' unions, all just absolute lies and smears. But it was the threat for anyone who dared to step out of line. And they told me that this was coming. In spite of that threat, I voted my conscience. I voted what I felt was more in line with our party platform of not increasing the size of government. And as a result, I lost my reelection.
Yeah.
I wouldn't take it back. I would rather lose an election any day than to compromise my integrity or my character. So that's the long story short on why I lost that election, but I don't regret it, and I promise you I'll do the same thing. I'll continue to stand against political elites and big money groups who are going to put this pressure on politicians to make sure that their agenda, not the agenda of the people, but the agenda of these special interest groups are accomplished. That's why I'm not taking any money from lobbyists or special interest groups, Leslie. I'm only taking individual donations from the people because I'm not going to be influenced by that kind of corruption.
That's right. So go to JakeMerrickForGovernor.com and make a donation.
That's right.
Okay. So my next question was actually also about school choice. So I think you may have already answered this, but your no vote led some to believe that you were not pro school choice.
Right.
And the other part of that is, there was this idea out there that you changed your position. So I don't know, did we address both of those in what you just talked about?
I'll just clarify that. I am 100% for parental authority over children. That I always...
You exercise it yourself.
I do. Both of our daughters, we have explored different options for them. We homeschool them. We've tried public school, private school, Epic. We've been all over the place, seeking out that best fit for our kids.
Yeah.
And we exercise school choice, and I said, I'm going to do this whether I have permission from the government or funding from the government. It's just my God-given right as a parent to do what's in the best interest of my child.
Yes.
So I will always defend that inherent right of parents. But when it comes to vouchers, there's different versions of school choice. The voucher bill gave me heartburn. I didn't like it. This tax credit option that we have today is a much better option, I believe. Some have said, well, if you come in, are you going to try to eradicate that? No, I think that it's doing good. It could be made better.
Yeah.
Okay, let's continue to work on improving that, to give this option to all parents to put their kids where they need to put them for the best education. But at the same time, I'm not trying to forsake public schools either.
Yeah.
I want to see our public schools improved, and obviously we have a long way to go, but it's entirely possible. Maybe we can talk about that later, but I'm not forsaking public schools, but I do want to ensure every parent, I will support your choice for your children.
That's right. And me and my 6 children. We've done the same thing. Homeschool, private school, public school. We've done it all. And
Right.
I've exercised my school choice.
As they grow and
So-
mature, sometimes their needs change.
Yeah.
You know, and so you have to find out what's best for them this year.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Very true. Okay, so my next question is about your radio station exit. So critics say that you should have continued your radio show program instead of running for governor because you were giving a voice to the grassroots. And now there's a void. So what do you have to say about that?
Wow. Well, first of all, I so appreciate those critics who saw the value in my show.
That's right.
That's exactly what I did. The intent of the show was to speak to Oklahoma issues and to give a voice to the grassroots. And that's what I did every single day, Monday through Friday, 7 to 8 on the Jake Merrick Show. I thoroughly enjoyed my time there. It's a great radio station, great experience. But it came down to the decision of, am I going to campaign full-time and give the people confidence that I'm fully in this, or am I going to try to juggle 2 different things? It just reached a point where I was no longer able to maintain both, and I saw it as an opportunity, actually, to take that same message and now take it all across the state. We had a listening area with the radio station, and many people tuned in online and listened
Yep.
across the state, and even from different states, but I have a chance now to take that exact same message from the Panhandle in the far west, Boise City, over to Alva in the north, and over into Broken Arrow in the east, and Ardmore. I'm going personally to all of these places. And tell you, it's been such a thrill to go shake hands and meet the people who listened to me for those 2.5 years.
That's right.
And we're talking about the same thing. What's happening in Oklahoma and how can we make it better?
That's right. That's right. And I think that that was the best decision you could make because you were going to be tethered to the station if you didn't make that
Right.
decision. And they have their rules and all of that too. with
Right, we had
the-
to protect their license.
Yeah.
You know, and there's always the threat of a lawsuit for equal time from
Yep.
other candidates. So I didn't want to jeopardize their license at all and respected the station. And honestly, Leslie, I reached the point where talking about these issues every day led me to the desire to take action,
Yeah.
further action. We can talk about things all day, but that results in very little change.
That's
We've got to
right.
actually take action and have some commitment. So that's what this campaign represents.
And I think that this, your radio station time, people say that God doesn't call the qualified, He qualifies the called. And I think there was definitely something to that.
I believe it.
Okay, so next question is about your favorite group, the OTA. So you have very publicly stated that we need to eliminate the OTA. And you're the only candidate in a recent forum who stated that. Everyone else said we need to combine the OTA with the other entity.
Right, DOT or the...
Yeah, Department of Transportation,
Mm-hmm.
that's right. So I want you to talk about that. Talk about the OTA and why you have the position that you have.
Absolutely. Well, you go back to where it all started in 1953, 54, when the turnpike was first proposed. It was proposed as a way to build some new roads across Oklahoma. The tolls would pay for them. Once the roads were paid for, they would return them back to free highways.
Free highways.
Wouldn't that be amazing?
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
And once they realized that this was a moneymaker and a job creator, they've maintained it and have only used one toll road to justify the creation of another. And we've only seen the debt of the OTA increase. It's projected to hit $10 billion in the next few years with this new recent expansion in Norman. So I'm in favor of going back to the original idea of let's return these highways to free roads and let's relieve the burden on Oklahomans. I know I talked to some areas of the state where they don't travel on turnpikes out in
Yeah.
western Oklahoma, and so it may be a non-issue to them.
Yeah.
But I know for myself and others, I'm on the turnpike every single day.
I am too. Yeah.
And that does get expensive. And especially if you're trucking across Oklahoma City to Tulsa all the time, that adds up. And then we see the action of the OTA arbitrarily raising rates, raising tolls, which are a type of tax, without a vote of the people. And that's
Yeah.
very troubling to me. We have very little legislative oversight of the OTA, And many consider it this rogue agency out here acting unilaterally in what's in the best interest of the OTA, not what's in the best interest of the people of Oklahoma.
That's right. And the
So-
issue of eminent domain. I mean, that's another
Exactly.
issue.
I mean, this should only be exercised by government agencies as a last resort for what's in the best interest of the general public. And when we see an agency like the OTA that is so disconnected from our legislature and from the people, I do not think that they could justify using eminent domain the way they are.
That's right.
So the best solution for me is, let's say we're thankful for the roads that were built. Let's close this out. And this would not happen overnight, by the way. This would be a gradual phase out because we do have to pay this debt off.
Yeah.
And with the $300 to $400 million generated annually from these tolls, we should be able to knock this debt out pretty quickly. If we stop the ongoing expansions and devote that revenue to paying off the debt, now we can close this out, we can return these to free roads, and give greater freedom to people of Oklahoma.
I like that. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Okay, my next question for you is about your nonprofit donation. So when you closed out your Senate 2022 account, your campaign committee donated the remaining funds to a nonprofit that you founded and that you still control. So walk us through exactly how much money went to that nonprofit, what it was used for, and the thought process behind that decision.
Yeah, absolutely. I so appreciate this question. There's been some concerns out there from some people about, and I don't blame them at all. That's why we have ethics, and that's why we have ultimate transparency, and everyone can access these records. So just up front, let me say, all of this is recorded for anybody to go access. You can go look. We're not trying to hide anything. You're right. At the end of my Senate campaign, I had leftover funds. There was some criticism there as well of, well, why didn't you use those funds to campaign? Well, it was just a decision we made. We felt we had done everything we could do in this campaign, and we ended up with about $1,800 left over.
So it wasn't a lot of money. That's what I found interesting, as somebody had, there was criticism, and I was like, it's $1,800.
I guess it depends on who you are.
Yeah.
Some may consider it a lot.
Well, $1,800 is a lot of money.
Yeah, it could be. It could be, but
We would take $1,800 now if you want to donate.
right. We'll take that. JakeMerrick4Governor.com.
That's right.
I did not know what to do. This was the first time I had experienced this, and I had lost my reelection. So I was going to close out my Senate campaign. I had no aspirations to run for office in the next few years at least. So I went to the ethics, and they know me by name over there, by the way.
Yeah.
Any question I had, I constantly went to ethics, got in front of them face to face. That's just the way I like to do business.
Yeah.
I go to them personally and say, this is my issue. What is the ethical thing to do? That's exactly what I did with this situation. I went to ethics. I said, I have leftover funds. They said, no big deal. It's pretty common. Basically have three options. You can return the money to the donors, which immediately I said, that could be problematic. Who do you return this to?
Yeah,
Right?
and for the people who aren't super familiar with Jake's previous campaigns, he was broadly supported with a lot of grassroots groups who typically don't get along with one another.
Right.
So
There was that too.
That creates a little bit of a challenge when you go, who do I give it to? If I
Right.
give it to this one's going to take issue with it. If I give it to that one, this one's going to take issue with it.
Yeah, you have a lot of
So-
great organizations and
Yeah.
PACs, and they do great things individually, but they may not entirely agree with each other.
That's right.
So if I return that remaining fund to PAC A, who may not agree with PAC B, then all of a sudden they're like, why did you return it to them and not us? Or why did
Yeah.
you split? So there was a lot of possible conflicts there.
Yeah.
So the third option they gave me was you could donate this to a nonprofit. And I said, well, I have a nonprofit that I fully believe in. And like you said, I'm still active in. I'm looking at expanding this to address mental health issues in Oklahoma. It's one, Paraclete is its name. I set it up to address and promote health and wellness in Oklahoma. And we've been able to help so many people.
You were Maha before Maha was Maha.
That's right. That's right. I'm fully on with RFK and the Moha movement too. But
Maha, yeah.
well, I have this nonprofit, and I said, well, I have a nonprofit, legitimate 501c3. We're actively helping people with that work. And the words they gave me verbally was, yes, if it's a legitimate 501c3, and and you would not benefit personally from these funds, you can put those funds there. So,
And that is actually the legal, that's the legal line there, is that
Right.
you can't benefit from those funds.
Yeah.
So, and this is a conversation I've had with ethics as well.
Right.
So,
right. Money received from from other donations has gone to help people, whether it's creating meal plans or nutrition plans or paying for personal training or gym memberships. It's been beautiful the number of people we've helped, and like I said, we're continuing to expand that scope. But what I did was completely above board, ethical, legal, and I understand there may be concerns about that, but that's the story.
that's the reality of it. And there are a lot of people who are elected officials and candidates who do the same thing, and it is legal, like you
Right.
said, and transparent. So.
Well, and I have to say too, I also gave some to another nonprofit in my district, Savannah Station. They have therapeutic riding for disabled kids. And it was a beautiful thing, offering an amazing service to people in my district. And so as part of their fundraiser, I offered some of my funds to that nonprofit. I felt that was a tremendous use of the funds that people who donated to me would value and appreciate. So we also did that too. It wasn't all just to mine.
Yeah.
But the goal is, wherever I give, that to ensure it aligns with the people who gave it. I respect those who are giving to me. They're entrusting me with those funds, and I want to use it wisely, and I think we did.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that was the best use of those funds. Okay, green energy. What is your position on green energy, and has it changed over time? That is something I had heard, is that you had changed your position on green energy, but I'm not sure where that comes from exactly.
Right. Well, it's interesting. I'm not sure where that question comes from either, except when I was in the Senate, I did have more of an all of the above approach, similar to what Governor Stitt has currently. The idea behind that was, hey, let's explore all options. If there's a viable source of energy creation, let's consider it. And that has been my position for a long time with wind turbines and solar industrial complexes, and working side by side with natural gas in our oil industry. So that was a position I had when I was in the Senate, but as I've explored this more and gained new information and learned more about these green industries, I've become more skeptical. And
As we all have. Really.
I think everybody is, and
Yeah.
of course Trump now coming out with the Green New Scam.
Yeah.
You know, I think all arrows are pointing to the possibility that this is not a viable form of energy production, that if we took all subsidies away, could they even exist? And that's a huge problem for me, that you would have an industry propped up with government subsidies.
Yeah.
So just from the get-go, I have big issue with that. But then you go further into, are they actually green?
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's a lot of questions about, do they do more damage to the
Yeah.
environment than actually help preserve it? And so the type of chemicals that they're made of, that's
Yep.
sloughing off and draining off into the ground, both on solar and wind turbines, and then the energy that's produced, is it actually going to Oklahoma, or are we outsourcing it out to other states? Is it benefiting us? So I have a lot of questions. So I've actually proposed a moratorium on all future green energy projects, basically hitting a pause, much like what we did with marijuana. Marijuana was the Wild West for so long, and we're trying to implement new regulations, but it was very difficult as it was ongoing and people were buying new licenses and expanding. So there was a moratorium on marijuana. We got regulations in place, then we reopened it up under these new guidelines. I could see the same thing happening with green energy. You know, there is a big caveat there. You hit pause, and as you look at all of the new information, you then have to ask, do we actually want to reopen this up?
No.
Because maybe we don't.
That's right.
But I think it deserves a closer inspection, the proper regulations, and then we can talk about next steps.
Yeah.
But I think no matter the issue, if you learn new information, you should adjust your position.
Yes.
You know, have I changed? I've changed on everything from abortion to green energy to how we address our educational issue. As I learn more information, you adjust your position.
Yes.
It doesn't make you a flip-flopper, I don't believe. I think it's wisdom.
Yes, which you've become more conservative on abortion, obviously.
Obviously, yeah. Right. Just to
So
be
don't
clear.
worry, he didn't change his position on abortion.
No,
That'll be the next headline. Jake and Merrick changes his. No, he didn't. Complete abolition.
Yeah.
That's where we're at. And I appreciate you saying that about changing your mind, because there's this mindset out there that obviously we don't want politicians that do one thing and say another and they don't keep
Yeah.
their word. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about being presented with new, better, more reliable information. And sometimes, like this green energy scam, you start seeing the fruits of this labor. You start seeing the actual damage that's caused. So, you change your position based on more information. That's good leadership.
Right.
I don't want somebody who is going to try to save face and who's going to dig in and say, you know what, even though I've learned more information, it's like the person you referenced earlier who changed their vote. That's not what we want.
Right.
We don't want somebody who does that. We want somebody who says, you know what, you know what I'm saying.
Well, there's a big difference, and this is where people will get frustrated, of people changing their position because of the political pressure.
Yeah.
That's what happens. I'm talking about changing it based on facts and new information. And the only healthy way to approach that is more transparency, more communication. I see an elected position much like a marriage where you must have good communication.
Yes.
The breakdown of every good marriage starts with the failure to communicate. And I would say the same with an elected position. So if I change anything or have to reconsider something, this is where I'm going to go first. I want to go straight to the people and say, this is what I'm hearing, and I believe that I must adjust, and I think you should know because you elected me based on certain assumptions and certain positions, so we need to have ongoing communication, which I don't know if you have this as part of your questions or not, but I think it may be a good time to talk about citizen advisory boards.
Yeah, that actually is. It is a little further down my list, but you can go ahead and talk about that.
Well, something I'm very excited about, it's right in line with what I was talking about, is going straight from the people. Not only do I need to be able to communicate with the people, but the people need to be able to communicate with me. And this, again, is a point of frustration for everyone, is we elect you and then never see you again.
Yeah.
And what about us? And everybody feels left in the dark until the next election cycle, right?
And then the mailers start, the ones that say, remember me? I've done this and I've done that.
Exactly.
And,
And I've had that frustration myself. But what I'm excited about is this idea of a citizen advisory board. And I'm not talking about just one. I'm talking about many of them that are specific to an industry, whether it be education or oil and gas, farmers and ranchers. A board of maybe 10 to 20, depending on the industry, where I am sitting in front of the people themselves.
Yeah.
They come to me. These are not officially elected positions, by the way.
and they're not paid.
And they're not paid. These are just
No perks.
people from around the state who are representing certain sectors and industries who can come and sit before me, their governor, and say, this is what we need.
Yeah.
That excites me.
Yeah.
I would rather see that than for the governor to sit with the elites
Yes.
with special interest agendas
That never happens.
who are saying, this is what we're going to tell the people we're going to do.
Yeah.
How about we go straight to the people and receive from them
That's
our
right.
direction? So I'm excited about that. That is my intent, is to create multiple citizen advisory boards to instruct me how I can serve you better.
Yes, I love that. I love it. So another hot button is the issue of tribes and McGirt. So what is your position on tribal relations, and as a governor, what can you do to bridge that divide while still enforcing the rule of law?
Right. Well, I believe in fostering strong relationships with the tribes, with a mutual respect, with shared goals when it comes to both public safety and economic growth. So, the McGirt decision has created some jurisdictional challenges that we have to address, but we also have to respect the federal aspect of this.
Yeah.
These are rooted in federal treaties that the state cannot just come in and overstep. So it's something that, as governor, I want to respect that federal aspect while also seeking to apply the rule of law uniformly across the state. So it applies to everyone equally. Now, I want to see tribes as allies instead of enemies. We need compacts that work for both parties. So as governor, that's exactly what I want to do, is sit at the table with the tribal leaders and figure out what will work for both of us. But if we start seeing each other as allies, working together to accomplish something greater for both parties, I think that's the right direction.
Yeah, and this would be another great application, like you said, for the Citizens Advisory Board.
Right. I mean, we could have one with tribal members
Yeah.
to say, what is in the best interest of the tribes? How can we respect you and your sovereignty while also maintaining our sovereignty and what's in the best interest of Oklahoma citizens?
Yes, yes. And frankly, the people of Oklahoma are smart, and there are a lot of solutions and ideas out there that they have that, you know, if they could just talk to the governor, if they could just get those ideas to the people who make those decisions, and that's exactly what you're talking about doing, returning the government to the people.
That's right. That's right.
All right. Let's see here. Taxes, another one of your favorite subjects.
Talking about that a lot.
Okay, so former State Representative Mike Reynolds has filed a petition to eliminate property tax. Do you support this? And how do you suggest we fill the revenue void to pay for critical services and education?
Okay. So I've been very vocal on this position as well of ending property tax in Oklahoma. And I did a recent interview with Mike Reynolds talking about this new state question that they've introduced. I've come out in full support of this. It's not exactly my approach, but it's in the right direction of ending property tax in Oklahoma. Now, this doesn't completely end property tax. This state question, this petition, it would focus specifically on the homestead exemption. So for your personal dwelling, and I think this is the perfect place to start. No one should be threatened with losing their house or their land, their primary residency, because you can't pay property tax. And so this has been, I think, the main point of contention for most people is, especially the elderly, when they retire and now are threatened with losing their house because they can't pay property tax. That's not just.
No.
And so I think that this is the right move. This is a 4-year plan. The first year, of course, getting it verified. 2027, you end a third of the property tax for homesteads, and then it moves to 66%, and then it completely eliminates property tax for homesteads. And I love it. I think it's a great start in the right direction. I mean, I'm kind of an all or nothing guy. I like to just
we just like to rip that Band-Aid off.
The Band-Aid off. But I like this approach because it's reasonable, it's incremental, it helps develop a plan to replace those funds, because that is a real issue. We have to figure out how to do that. I'm not sure anyone has the right solution yet. There is a big push to move to increasing sales tax. And because we're only addressing a portion of this, I believe it's about 40%.
Yeah, I think so.
Of the property tax received. So we're not talking about having to make up the $4 billion. It's more like, I think, $1.5 billion. Yeah. And that still allows for the COL land, that allows for corporations to continue collecting taxes. Those with rental properties or multiple properties, there would still be taxes on those, the ad valorem tax. So it's not like we are just stranded, okay? But we do have to work on replacing those funds that would not be going to counties for those essential services. I know there's a lot of county sheriffs and county commissioners and school districts that are concerned, and rightfully so. But that's why there is this incremental step to slowly phase this out and then figure out how we're going to make this up.
That's right. And I bet some of those sheriffs would be on a Citizens Advisory Board.
There you go. Right. And, this is also one of the purposes of legislatures, and that's also mentioned in this petition, is that it would be up to legislators to hear from the people to come up with a plan of action.
That's right. Okay. Another one of your favorite topics, faith. Okay,
Absolutely.
so you talk about serving a big God, so you don't need so you can have a small government.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
A lot of non-evangelical or non-Christian and even moderate Republicans and others. I mean, I have several friends who are supporting you, who are hoping you get to the, to the finish line because they want to vote for you and they are registered independents. I'm working on that. But they're nervous about theocracy. So what do you have to say to the non-Christians and the atheists and others out there who are concerned about this? Are you going to protect their religious liberty? Where do you stand with that?
I don't want to say it's laughable, but it's almost laughable that someone would think that I'm trying to push for theocracy. Just understand that actually undermines the heart of Christianity.
Yeah, that's right.
Where you are forcing someone to believe or claim Christ, it's all about a heart change. And so I, as a Christian, would never want to force someone into my faith.
Yeah.
So that is off the table completely. There is a recognition that all rights come from God. And I believe that was also what our founding fathers acknowledged and what they built upon is the acknowledgement that rights come from God, the government protects it. I would say even if you didn't believe in God, you should support that.
Yeah.
Because that just limits government from getting into your business.
That's right.
That God gives me rights. That's why I always say I have a big God who meets my needs, who is my Savior, provider. Therefore, I don't need government to come in and try to be my Savior. Because I always say this too. Government will meet any need you want it to meet, and then they'll charge you for it.
That's right.
You will pay for it, but I would rather keep government limited and in its lane and trust God than to have government come in and try to offer these services and help meet my needs and then charge me more taxes. So religious liberty is one of the bedrock fundamental principles of our nation and our state, and it must be protected. As a Christian, I will be talking about God. My faith will direct my decisions. And the purpose of the First Amendment was never to keep faith out of government. It was to keep government out of the church.
That's right.
So faith leads me. It guides me. And I believe people are better off for it. It encourages me to love and to sacrifice and to help other people, not to strong-arm them and force them into something.
That's right.
So I do want to promote the foundation of America that I believe was built on Judeo-Christian principles. And I think we can do that and even teach that in our schools without forcing anyone into a particular faith. But I hope that gives people comfort that I am a Christian. I will be bold about that. I'll speak about that freely, and it does influence my decisions. But I would never force that on anyone else.
All right. Okay. The last question that I have for you here is about electability. You're running for governor, obviously qualified to run for governor. So polls and fundraising show, of course, if you look at polls, of course, the polls that are out there are being paid for by other people who are running for office.
All of you, I'm sure, have been polled, right?
Yeah. And polls, I try to explain to people, polls aren't really to find out what's really going on. It's really to influence what people think. Yeah. And it works. If you're in the chats out there, you're seeing people say, well, the polls say this person or that person is ahead or has a better chance. There's a reason they're putting that out there, and it's so that you say, oh, look, I better vote for this person over here because they have a better chance. If all of those people just vote for you, then we don't have to worry about it. That's where we're at with it. So I want you to talk to us about, you're running against someone who's a former Speaker of the House, sitting Attorney General, others who may have, statewide name ID. How do you win this?
It's a legitimate question, but we, I believe, have been conditioned to believe that you cannot run for office, and the higher the office, the more money, but you can't run for office unless you have a certain amount of money.
That's right.
And people have to remember what that money is about. It's about visibility. It's about reaching the people. There's other ways to do that. It may take a little more effort, but there's other ways to reach those people. And in the day we're living in with AI and
right.
social media.
That's right.
You know, even just a few years ago in 2016, Trump bypassed the traditional way of going to the media, and he dictated his own campaign via Twitter.
That's right.
He took over and he said, I don't need you anymore. He wasn't reliant on what we now know as fake news.
That's right.
But he just went straight to the people with his own message. We have that same capacity today, even more so. So why are we so afraid of stepping in? Why would I be afraid of stepping into a race when I have access to all of the people without the big money, without the big bucks? There's creative ways to do this, to get in front of people, and it also requires boots on the ground, which I have really an army across the state. We just figured up the other day, Leslie, that we put about 50,000 miles on our car this year.
Wow.
So we have literally been driving all across the state of Oklahoma, personally engaging with people, getting their individual support, and they're waiting, saying, give us our marching orders, tell us when.
That's
and
right.
I say, hey, I don't have to give you marching orders. You go out and do what's in your heart to do. And we have people out already canvassing and door knocking and putting out signs and printing up their own T-shirts.
Yes.
I mean, the tremendous support we're receiving that will never make the nightly news.
That's right.
Okay, that's an important
Yeah,
point.
and the news isn't going to be necessarily your friend anyway. You're that guy that they can't leverage and bully and bribe and
they're part of the
get
problem.
you to get in line.
There you go.
Yeah.
They are one of those influencers that try to dictate the direction of the state. And
That's
so,
right.
you know, we have tremendous support across the state. I'm not concerned about that. We are about to step into this whole campaign for door knocking. We have a target. We have core leaders in, I would say, almost every county, if not every county. And we're ready to hit the go button on these. There are many more ways. I always tell people, I don't need $1 million. I just need 110,000 votes.
Yeah.
Okay, that's about
Yeah.
what we're shooting for. We have a target, but any of you listening who say, you know what, this seems like a guy that has the people's best interest in mind, you can get behind me, and it's because of your participation that we can overcome any money gap. So, like you said, Leslie, if the people just got behind, jumped on board, and we worked as a team, as a unit, then I think we could do tremendous things of shifting the dynamics here in Oklahoma. And what that would do is that would be an example across the nation.
Oh, yeah.
When we win this election, Leslie, it's going to get the notice of everyone in every state because we're going to accomplish something that everyone said could not be done.
That's right.
But what we will accomplish is returning the power back to the people and saying big money cannot buy elections in Oklahoma anymore.
That's right. We have to remember that.
Yes.
This is the thing about it. We say as not only Republicans, but independents and libertarians, and Democrats too, probably, we're tired of money dictating things. We're tired of money's influence. And then out of that same mouth, they say, but if we don't have the money, we can't win. Things have changed. This is a different world.
It is.
You can have a viral post. We have seen elections, national elections, won by somebody who went to a school board meeting and spoke out.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, they're a statewide elected official.
I know.
It happens.
And you know, what did Trump do?
Yeah.
He went to McDonald's.
Yeah.
He drove a trash truck, right?
Garbage truck. Who has a garbage truck out there for Jake to drive? That's what we need to do. You need a garbage
Did he
truck.
pay millions of dollars to do that? No, the press followed him. There
That's
are
right.
strategies, there's ways to get attention, but at the same time, we have to have attention, but this is not my primary goal. My primary goal is to speak truth across the state.
That's right.
And this is resonating, and people are fired up. They're sick of the status quo. They're sick of doing the same thing, expecting different results. People are waking up, and I'm woke up with them. I'm
Yeah.
not woke.
You're woke up.
I'm waking up. I'm awake. And because eyes are open, they're saying we're ready to do something different. That's why people are getting behind this campaign.
That's right. That's right. Well, obviously, I support you. You were my senator. I was the very first person to ever interview Jake.
You were.
That's right. Back when I had my podcast. So I support you. The people of Oklahoma support you. Is there anything else you want to say before we close out?
Yes, thank you for that. Again, JakeMerrickForGovernor.com. You can go there. You can make a donation. You can find out more about me. I do believe the future of Oklahoma lies in our families. We must do more to support our nuclear families, where a mom and dad are present in the home, pouring into their children, dictating their own futures. And this is something that is precious, it's sacred, and I will fight to protect. At the same time, our land. We must protect our land from the abuse of eminent domain, from out-of-control property taxes, and from the Chinese and other foreign threats coming in, buying up our land. So I always say the future of Oklahoma rests in two things, our children and our land, and I'm going to fight to protect both of those. But I can't do it alone. I need you to help me out. So you can go to JakeMerrickForGovernor.com. You can donate, you can reach out to me, find out how you can jump on board with our door knocking campaign, or how to get a sign, stick it in your yard, tell your neighbors. But get the word out. I believe good things are ahead, Leslie.
I do too. All right, well, I'm looking forward to this, and I'm looking forward to our new governor,
Thank you, Leslie.
Mr. Jake Merrick.
Thank you, guys.